Hi DJ Tech Tools, it's Dan here. What do you think is the most underused feature on a CDJ or media player? If you guessed reverse, you're probably right, although I would say maybe time mode or a few of the other very unused buttons on here are used a little bit less. But reverse is probably the only transport control that most DJs don't use regularly. Today, I'm going to share with you a quick tip on how you can use reverse on CDJs to get a little more creative and interesting with your mixes. So on CDJs, there's a very limited amount of transport controls, and especially if you're used to the beat jump and loop move that are available in Traktor, Serato, Rekordbox, the new Denon CDJs, pretty much every other platform except for CDJs. If you want to move around inside of a track while it's playing, your options are pretty limited, and unless you have the top of the line gear, they suck. So out of limitation comes creative innovations, and that's kind of what I've been working with here on the CDJs as I found myself reaching over and going, hey, maybe I can use this reverse switch and add a little bit more flavor to my mixes. Before we get started using reverse, I have two very important tips. Number one, you're almost always going to use it with Quantize on. The reason why is reverse is a bit finicky in terms of when it starts and stops going in reverse, depending on when you press it. So let's load a song here just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to jump right into, let's say, this spot right here, which looks like quieter. So with Quantize off, it's going to go as soon as I hit it. That's useful if you want to scrub over a particular moment, right? Like let's say you find a vocal, right? Like that right there. So I can manually scrub back and forth over that. But if you're using reverse and you want to have more of a loop effect and want to have a set number of bars that's going forward and backwards, you don't want to have your timing 100%, hit Quantize, and then you'll notice that as long as you hit it after 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, it'll stay on the 1 every single time. The other really important thing for you to know when you're in reverse, the jog wheel acts exactly how you would think it would, in that it's playing backwards. So if you push the jog wheel this way, then it's going to make it play in reverse even faster. And if you pull it forward, then it's going to slow down how fast it's in reverse. It's important to think about this because when you're in forward, it's playing it normally. This way speeds up a song and this way slows down a song. But when you have it in reverse, this way will slow down a song and this way will speed it up. Okay, let's get to the 4 techniques. My first technique for using reverse on CDJs is to make a loop of what you just heard by going backwards over top of it. It's really useful if you want to loop something that you just heard in the song, but you missed your opportunity to hit loop. So let's take this song where there's a vocal breakdown, and then at the end of the vocal breakdown, the drums come in. I don't want to loop the drums, but I can see them coming up in the waveform. So as soon as I see them coming up, I'm going to reverse back 16 counts, and then set a loop at the beginning of those 16 counts while hitting it into forward at the same time. Let's take a look and see if I can do it right on the very first time. There's the beginning of it. There are the drums coming in. So let's... There we go. So ideally I would be doing this at the same time that I have another song queued up over here. So I'd be mixing out of this vocal and into some drums that are happening over here. It's useful particularly if you've just forgotten to set a loop in a moment when you really want to. This is a good example, because if I had kept going and gotten out of this loop, and the drums start to come in. Maybe I don't want these drums. Maybe instead I want to just be looping the vocal sample. Reverse works really well for that. So another way that reverse works really well is if you're getting to the very end of a song, like I'm getting to the very end of this song right here, and you realize way too late that you're at the very end of the song and that you're going to need to do a loop. The cool thing about this is that you don't necessarily have to undo the reverse. It sounds a little weird, but it gives you this opportunity then So you can tell I've screwed up my phrasing here, and I'm getting to the end of the song, so I want to keep it in for a little bit longer. So I'm going to put it in reverse. There we go, now my phrasing's right. So you can see in that example I was running out of time on this track over here. Well, this track still wasn't quite the moment where there was a melodic element coming in yet. So to compensate for that, I put it in reverse, and then was able to use a little bit longer of the drums and stuff that were happening over here. It's not an ideal example, especially because now I'm realizing that I have the same song on both decks. But the main idea is that you are extending the end of a song using reverse, and it kind of has a little bit of a trippy effect to it, but I find that as long as you have a bass drum on the track that's coming in, most people aren't going to freak out from hearing reverse snare and hi-hats, because that's already in a lot of production that is coming out in electronic music. So use it sparingly, but it's another opportunity to kind of save your ass if you're at the end of a song and you haven't mixed out yet. All right, in this third example of how you can use reverse in a really fun and interesting way, it works really well if you have breakdowns. A lot of songs that I play happen to have kind of more spacey, echoey breakdown moments before the beat comes back in. This Morthon 2 track by Frank Weideman has a very good example here. You can hear there's a little bit of a synth breakdown. And at the end of the synth breakdown, the drums start to come in, and then the beat comes back. So instead of listening to the whole beat coming back and everything, maybe I just want to play around with what's happening with the synths here. So if I have this synth spacey moment happening here, I'm going to reverse at the end of the phrase. Cool, and then I can just bring in the beat. So while you're playing with reverse in a breakdown moment like that, if you throw on a little bit of reverb or dub echo or echo, it really starts to layer the forwards and the backwards moments that you're kind of scrubbing over using the reverse, and it makes it more interesting while you're waiting for the next melodic element to come in the new song. So something important to remember in reverse for this fourth example is that phrasing, again, works entirely the same in most electronic music when you're coming from the very end of a song as well as from the beginning. So 32 or 64 counts from the end of the song into the beginning of the song is still going to have major melodic changes or phrasing changes that you would experience if you're playing it forward. You know, the song still usually breaks down about the same way. So something fun that you can play with is actually mixing in a song from the end as opposed to from the beginning. It's a little bit crazy and out there, and I don't expect you to actually use it in a DJing situation. I did find myself doing this at a bit of a Burning Man gig that I played recently where, you know, it was a little bit more experimental and off the wall, and people weren't necessarily expecting perfection, but more experimentation, and were enjoying it. And in that example, I was coming out of a track, and we'll just kind of leave this 8-count loop over there. And let's jump here in this song. And let's go to the very end. And you can see the very end of the song there. But if you drop it in reverse, 2, 3, 4. You can hear the song's gonna come in, and it'll stay pretty well in time, of course, because I have the 2 decks synced. You can see they're slightly off here. A little bit of adjustment clears that up. And this sounds really good in reverse, actually. And if you want, you can play it forwards.
If you want me,
so here's a challenge to you. If you want to do something really cool, try mixing in a song entirely in reverse and then letting it go when it gets to a moment where it actually works in the mix. I challenge you to try it out. Maybe share your thoughts in the comments and tell me how ridiculous that is. I know it's ridiculous, but I just really like it, and I think it's a fun way to play around with music. So, do you have any ideas of things that you would like to see on CDJs, Pioneer mixers, or effects? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to make more videos and share my thoughts and insights with you on mixing and DJing. I'm Dan for DJ Tech Tools. If you'd like to see more stuff like this, hit the subscribe button right here or leave me a nasty comment in the comments below. Bye, guys.